So I don't know about y'all, but I kinda dislike the gaming scene at the moment. So what I'm doing in the meantime, instead of playing the games that I don't like, I just try to go back in time with the consoles that I grew up with and instead collect the games that I wasn't able to buy back then. And today we're checking out my favorite retro console of all time and why you should own one in 2025. Now, it feels kind of weird to say that it is a retro console, but it did come out in 2006. I got my PS3 Slim in 2012 during the Christmas period, and despite being almost 13 years old today, it still holds up very well with the interfaces and the designs that we have. It does have wireless connectivity, which means logging into your PSN account will not be an issue, and in fact, I can still see all of the trophies from my PS5, the PS4, and the PS Vita. So all in all, the PS3 kind of kept up with the updates, and it still works just fine. A little fun fact, the apps like YouTube and Netflix are still working really well, and there was a time during the pandemic where my PC broke down. Basically, my graphics card stopped working, and so obviously I wasn't able to game, but also unable to watch things like Twitch, Netflix, or just YouTube, and that's where the PS3 saved me. Also during those times, I remember picking up Red Dead Redemption 1 and playing it while I didn't have any access to the internet, to my Steam library, and to all of my other games. So now let's get to the point of why you should be owning one in 2025. Well, because the console is still seen as kind of new and so not really outdated like the NES and SNES, people don't really value the games that much. And since games for the PS3 are so easy and cheap to get nowadays, I decided I would start to collect them slowly and basically play all of the exclusives that I missed out on my childhood. But since the console that I own is 13 years old, I decided it would be a good idea to open it up, clean all of the insides from dust, and replace the thermal compound. Now, all you need to do this is an evening worth of time, a Torx screwdriver, a brush to remove the dust, and some new thermal compound, obviously. Now, to my surprise, when I took mine apart, the dust was not settled on the radiator, on the power supply, or even on the fan. Instead, it was just scattered throughout the chassis, where it basically wouldn't hinder the performance of the console. And also the thermal paste was still kind of gooey, not exactly new, but it still wasn't dry either. So in the end, I didn't really have to open up the console and spend an entire day cleaning it because it wasn't really necessary. Now, if you're worried about your console, I suggest you open it up only if you get some temperature warnings or if the console just shuts down and it is completely hot from playing. Alternatively, if you ever own pets or if you smoked inside, your console might have a lot more dust than mine. Speaking of which, I picked up a bunch of games from Vinted, and the previous owner smoked a lot and liked to use lots of perfume, which basically made these games smell like a degenerate nightclub. Luckily, with a bit of cleaning spray and some elbow grease, the smell went away. And another thing, when you buy used games and they have those stupidly gluey stickers that leave a lot of residue, you can remove them by soaking them in some isopropyl alcohol and then wipe it away. Alright, so after that, you only have the controllers to clean up, and mine were filthy. So I took another evening and I got to work. But the most important thing is making sure that the battery that they still have is not damaged, swollen, and it still works. And to my surprise, my controllers are able to hold a charge for still about 3 to 4 hours, which is insane considering their age and how long I've used them. Now you don't have to worry about your controllers. If they feel swollen on the back, the battery might be swollen, but you can buy a replacement on Amazon for cheap, and taking it apart and replacing it is also a very easy task. Now, if you're buying used PS3 controllers, make sure that you get the DualShock 3, not the 6-axis. The 6-axis variant only has the gyroscope in it, and it does not have the rumble motors, so you will not get vibration when you play games. Luckily, those were some of the first controllers to be made, and so they're not really easy to come by, but if you do, avoid them and get the DualShock 3 with 6-axis. I personally never saw one in the wild, but if you do come by one, now you know. Okay, so I think I covered most of the basics when it comes to the PS3, and the last thing that is left is the audio. So the PS3 has an HDMI port, which obviously outputs audio, but if that's not convenient enough, you can use the optical port on the back of the console and connect whatever headphones you want. Alternatively, you can also plug in a composite cable and plug in headphones or whatever you want. Now, the only downside to this is that the connection is cabled, which means you are tethered to the console, which is not very convenient, and the only headset that supports audio from the games over to headsets is the PS4 Gold headset. You can still find it used on eBay for about $50, so if you really want it, it can be done. I just want to interject a little. I just found out that most smart TVs have Bluetooth built in, which means you can just output audio via HDMI and then connect your earbuds directly to the TV. I'm using these cheap JLab Go Pop and they work absolutely fine. There is a bit of latency, but it's totally manageable, and obviously higher-end Bluetooth headphones are going to work a lot better. But to be honest, I am surprised at how easy this was, and it makes it very convenient, especially when you want to play at night. Alright, now let's finally talk about the games that you can play on your PS3. So if you own a PS3 Fat, which is the first variant of the PlayStation 3 to have come out, you can actually play PS2 games on it. That is because it literally has the PS2 hardware in it, so there's no emulation in between. However, all PS3 models can play PS1 games on them. Granted, you must have the original disc of the PS1 game. Like I mentioned before, PS3 games are very easy to come by and accessible with a low price, and many video game big chain stores still have them in stock, and online play for the PS3 still works to this day, which is incredible if I say so myself. Call of Duty used to get a lot of flack for not having dedicated servers for the PS3 era games, but this turned out to be a plus, since now they would be long shut down. Instead, as long as there is a host, people can join in on the party, and yes, that means that the host has the ping advantage, and the farther you are from the host, the higher is your ping. But hey, at least you don't have to pay for a subscription to play games online. Now let's finally talk about some games. One of my favorites to play on the PS3 right now is MotorStorm, and all of its sequels, in particular Pacific Rift. This is just a fun, extreme, no rules racing on all sorts of different terrain. Even with the 30 FPS of this generation, you can still feel the adrenaline. Next up is Little Big Planet, and my god, the cinematic intro of this game is insanely beautiful and creative. I remember watching the commercials for this game on TV as a kid, but somehow I just ended up never getting it. However, as an adult, playing this after a hard day of work is such a treat. Although sometimes it can be infuriating because of the clunky controls, but if you take your time and collect everything in a level, it is pretty damn fun. The Infamous series is an exclusive game that kind of flew under the radar. I definitely don't see many people talking about this, but man, the story and the acting alone are a perfect reason to give this one a shot. Alright, next up I have Lollipop Chainsaw. If I could describe this one in one sentence, it would be something like a stereotypically intelligent American cheerleader deals with Japanese stereotypes and a zombie apocalypse. Does that make sense? No? Good. Go play this game. It is so damn fun, and the humor in the acting and the writing is sublime. I literally caught myself laughing out loud at some scenes, and please, play the original on consoles because the remaster version does not have the original soundtrack, which, in my opinion, plays a big role in this game. Up next, I have two games, Dante's Inferno and Heavenly Sword. If you like God of War but you want something different, these two will definitely satisfy. First off, you have the story of Italian writer Dante Alighieri, only difference being that in this game, he's a buff badass and not a shy nerd who's afraid of women. And second, we have Heavenly Sword, which is a more adventure-style game with God of War combat and a great female character lead. Oh, and the story doesn't take itself too seriously because it is dumb fun. Okay. Last recommendation I have is the Resistance series. Although the first title starts kinda weak in my opinion, the next two are an absolute blast and sometimes even scary. Most important thing about the PS3 era is just the quality of the games that we used to get. And I'm not talking just about exclusives. I'm talking about the pinnacle of innovation when it came to art, storytelling, and gameplay. Sadly, I believe that after this era of consoles, games have gone down in quality tremendously, and yeah, sure, you can still get some remastered versions, but as we've seen with games such as Lollipop Chainsaw, they removed the original soundtrack because of licensing issues, and instead they replaced it with a lesser cool one. So the only way to have the original experience sometimes is to own the old game and playing on the original hardware. And after all of this being said, the PS3 is an amazing console, and yes, you can emulate it in the current year, however, nothing beats the stability and convenience of the actual physical console. So yeah, that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you want to see some more gaming content, subscribe to the channel. I've been Arkan, thank you for watching, bye bye.